Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. Today Aptera sent out this email looking for a survey, and so I thought we'd go over it together. So here's the survey, and all right, so they're wanting some information. Okay, so they want to tell us about yourself. So reservation holder, investor, ambassador, and I reserved a launch edition. All right, so let's go here. So I've been following Aptera since its first iteration, which was back in 2009, and many people confuse it as the same company. It is the same people, and it is this similar vehicle, but basically they had to liquidate in like 2010, and then it was defunct for a while because their IP was sold to a Chinese company, Zap, I think, Zap's John Way, and then they rebought the IP 10 years later in 2020. So it's not the same company. It has the same name, it's the same people, but it's fiscally two different entities. All right, am I planning to? Yes, buy a vehicle. So this is, I think, they're trying to get at um, how much can they increase the cost of the vehicle and how much can they delay the delivery. And so they're trying to get some very important information here. So uh, timing of delivery date. So it's going to have some impact. I mean, uh, it, it matters. Like if they deliver way later, there it just may not make sense to me anymore. Does the cost matter? Yeah, it kind of does. Like they can't increase the price a tremendous amount. Available payment option, these things actually don't matter to me because I'm saving up money to buy it in cash basically. So those things don't matter to me. But for other people, it might matter. And I think they're trying to figure out, do they need to partner up with some banks or something to get some kind of financing options, which I think is going to be important for most people. All right. How much would you be willing to pay for the launch edition, basically? So I think I would be paying what, what I would be willing to pay what they say they're gonna sell it for. Yeah, so like if it gets to like 40 some thousand, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Um, yeah, of course, we've all noticed that the prices of goods and services are going up. And I don't drive, but this will be mostly my wife's vehicle, and she probably drives about 20 to 30 miles a day. I would say that. And then we do this, road trips. I don't drive for work. Um, you know, leisure. Going to the beach, going to the mountains for hiking, that kind of stuff. Okay. It would be our primary vehicle. If I don't get an Aptera, what other vehicles would you likely to purchase? Mm, could be a Tesla Model Y, maybe a Bolt UV. Um, I think the Prius Prime is on the thing, but the pricing is just not great. So I don't know that that's really on the docket. There's probably a lot of other vehicles that I'm thinking about that I wouldn't know. Like the Hyundai Ioniqs are nice. The Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6. Those are cool. Um, and there's probably some others I'm not thinking about. Okay, so where are we located? California. Okay, then the last part is age and income, and I'll answer those questions offline. All right, and then so today was Earth Day, and Bill Embry from Albuquerque told me that he just sent me this very nice email. They had an Earth Day celebration in Albuquerque, and Bob Newcow, who made the poetry books. He calls them prose. The books about Aptera. They had kind of a book signing as an Earth Day thing, and so this is Bill and his daughter Katya. This is Finley, Brian. Here's Bob and Daniel, and there they are with their signed books. So thanks for sending me that email, Bill. And looks like you guys had a great Aptera gathering there. And then today, I spent Earth Day. I visited my local farm that we are part of their community-sponsored agriculture CSA, and they're doing quite well. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about America because I mean, I think 80% of our viewers are Americans, and these are facts that probably many of you know, but maybe some of you don't know. So I thought I would get on my soapbox a little bit on Earth Day and kind of talk about the outsized contribution that the United States has to ecological and environmental consumption and degradation in the world. So we are about 5% of the world's population. World population is about pushing 7.5 billion, and America is like 300 and some million. And so we're about 5%, but we consume 25% of the world's energy. So we consume basically 5 times the average on a per capita basis. So one American consumes as much energy as 2 Japanese people. So Japan's a very industrialized, well-developed country, and we still consume twice as much energy as Japanese people, 6 times as much energy as the average Mexican, and 13 times as much as China, 31 times as much as India, and then 400 times as much as Ethiopia. And so, we eat a lot as well. We throw away a lot of food. We generate 52 tons of garbage in our lifetime, generally. And the average daily consumption of water is 159 gallons compared to 25 gallons. And then these are some shocking facts about our food structure. Like 80% of the corn grown and 95% of the oats are fed to livestock, and more than half the available farmland in the United States is used for beef production. Because beef is just very land intensive, and the conversion of solar energy into plants and then converting it to meat is very inefficient. So you have to feed cows a large amount of feed to turn it into a pound of beef. So it's very inefficient. So it takes a tremendous amount of energy to grow corn and feed, and then we feed it to cows for beef production. So that is, and then chicken also is probably the most popular meat in America, and it's not as land or energy intensive as beef, but there's nothing quite like eating the corn directly. That's the most efficient use of land. Here's an article in Scientific American. This is statistics from 12 years ago, but talking about more U.S. consumption. 5% of the world's population. We consume 1/3 of the world's paper, 1/4 of the world's oil, 25% of the coal, 27% of the aluminum, and 19% of the copper. We also produce like 30% of the world's solid waste on a per capita basis. I mean, not on a per capita basis, like as a country. And on a per capita basis, that's like I think we generate the second most. Canada actually generates more solid waste than the United States on a per capita basis. And a lot of it is this, which is one of the major things that Aptera is hoping to do is like we're trying to right size private automobile manufacturing energy costs and operational energy costs. Now, nothing beats biking or walking, and so that's why, I bike to work, and I still plan to continue to bike to work even after I get the Aptera. But, there are things, especially in America, our infrastructure is not really that conducive to being able to bike and walk. A lot of places we're very spread out, and public transit is not great in the United States. So you have to have an automobile to function in the United States. It's very difficult to function without it. And I'm trying to get the least energy intensive and least consuming private automobile, which would be the Aptera. So I think that's what we're going for. And we are a consumer-driven society. Mass consumerism is kind of par for the course in the United States. This is us compared to other well-industrialized countries like the United Kingdom, Germany, Belgium, France. And you can see that we are way out of the norm. And this is the drop-off of consumption during the pandemic when supply chains were down and things like that. And you can see that our homes have grown in size. From in the 60s, it was even much less. I think the average U.S. home in the 60s was like 1,300 square feet. And then now, everyone has a TV. People have like 2 refrigerators. And this is one of the more shocking things. Like clothing purchases have increased fivefold since 1980, and the average garment is only worn 7 times before it's disposed of. So fast fashion and cheap clothing is just it's really ruining our environment. Um, and then the last thing, one of my pet peeves is the American lawn. So I live in Southern California where it's basically a desert and everyone has a lawn around me. I mean, most people do. And I got rid of my lawn because after I found out these things, I'm just like, you know, I don't want to be a contributor to this. And so the American lawn takes up 30 to 40 million acres. It it is the largest crop grown in the United States by land area and by water use and by fertilizer use. That is insane. It's something that we don't eat. It doesn't provide any natural habitat. It does nothing other than look good. So it's pure vanity, basically. Lawnmowers account for 5% of the nation's air pollution. Now, this is getting better because everyone's kind of converting over to electric lawnmower, so that's good. 17 million gallons of fuel are spilled during the refilling of lawn and garden equipment. That's more gallons of petroleum than spilled by the Exxon Valdez. Homeowners spend billions of dollars and use 10 times the amount of pesticides and fertilizers per acre on lawns as farmers do on crops. So, yeah, that's crazy. And then there's a lot of runoff from these fertilizers and herbicides and pesticides that people use on uh, on their lawns, and lawn watering accounts for 30 to 60%. Now, the history of lawns is very interesting because what happened is in the 16th century, lawns were deliberately cultivated by wealthy people in France and England because basically they were trying to say that I'm so rich that I can afford to pay people to get farmable land and not grow food on it and just trim grass on it. And so it was kind of just a flex that I'm so wealthy I can afford to waste good land. And people thought that it looked great. And so I think Thomas Jefferson was one of the first people to bring it over. You know, he at Monticello, he put a lawn in, and people thought, well, that looks great. And other wealthy people kind of followed suit. And it became just kind of a sign of wealth and like having made it. And that's why lawns are so ubiquitous now. But you know, lawns don't do anything. They don't provide any flowers for beneficial insects. They don't help the ecology of the area. They cause a lot of runoff. We waste tons of water on it and fertilizer and pesticides. And yeah, it is the single largest grown crop in the United States. And that's just staggering to think about. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we can do on Earth Day, and I think we should all kind of look at how we live our lives and try to do things that maybe move America back to the norm and make us not so wasteful of resources, of energy, and generating so much trash and just wasting a lot of money and resources on things like lawns that are, you know, not that useful. I mean, lawns are nice. Kids can play on them and stuff, but I think just we have like way too much lawns in America, and it would be better to. So what I did is I xeriscaped my yard. I put in native plants, and I think it looks nice, but it's not what people typically like. All right, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. I hope everyone had a great weekend and did something special on Earth Day. And I'm glad to hear that some of the Aptera community um, were out doing things. Went to my local Earth Day celebration. Actually, ran into one of our community members. Hi, Chris. It was nice running into people just randomly. Okay, so hope everyone had a great weekend. Have a great day.